the soup she always made. It was a cold evening in a small town. Snow was falling softly outside the window, covering the streets and roofs with white. Inside a little kitchen, an old woman named Clara stood by the stove. She wore a warm sweater and a soft smile. The smell of soup filled the room, a smell of comfort, love, and home. Clara was making the same soup she had made for many years, the soup her husband Robert loved the most. She added carrots, onions, potatoes, and a little salt. Then she stirred slowly, just like she always did. "Almost ready," she said softly to herself. But Robert wasn't there anymore. He had passed away 3 winters ago. Still, every week, Clara made the same soup because it reminded her of him, of their laughter, of all the quiet dinners they had shared together. One day, as Clara was cooking, someone knocked on the door. It was her neighbor, Liam, a young man who lived alone. He smiled shyly. "Good evening, Mrs. Clara. I was just checking if you needed anything from the store." Clara smiled. "Oh, thank you, dear. I think I have everything I need. Would you like to come in for some soup?" Liam hesitated. "I don't want to bother you." "You're not a bother," Clara said kindly. "It's cold out there. Come sit." So he came inside, and soon the small kitchen was warm with the sound of spoons and quiet laughter. They sat at the table, and Clara poured him a bowl of her soup. The smell was rich and comforting. Liam took 1 spoonful, then looked up with surprise. This is amazing," he said. Clara laughed softly. "It's just vegetable soup." He shook his head. "No, it's special. It tastes like home." Clara smiled. "My husband used to say the same thing." For a moment, both of them were silent. Then Clara said, "When he was alive, we would sit here every Sunday and eat this together. It was our little tradition." Liam looked down. "That's beautiful. I live alone, and I usually just eat something quick. I haven't had a meal like this in a long time." Clara's eyes softened. "Then you must come again. I always make too much anyway." Weeks passed, and Liam began to visit every Sunday. They ate soup together, talked about life, and laughed at old stories. Sometimes Clara told him about her husband, how they met, how they built their small home, how they danced in the kitchen when it rained. Sometimes Liam told her about his job, his dreams, and how he missed his parents who lived far away. Slowly, the empty house began to feel alive again. One day, Liam came to visit, but Clara wasn't in the kitchen. He found her sitting by the window, the pot of soup still on the stove. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. Clara smiled weakly. "Just a little tired, dear. Getting old, you know." Liam looked worried. "You should rest. I'll help with the cooking." She laughed quietly. "Do you even know how to make my soup?" He grinned. "You can teach me." So she did. She showed him how to chop the vegetables just right, how to stir slowly, how to taste before adding salt. Her hands were shaky, but her voice was calm. When they finished, she said, "Now you know the secret." Liam smiled. "What's the secret ingredient?" "Love, of course." The next morning, the sky was gray and still. Snow covered the garden, and the air was silent. When Liam came by with some bread, he knocked on the door, but no one answered. He called her name softly, then opened the door. Clara was sitting in her chair by the window, her hands folded peacefully on her lap. The pot of soup was still warm on the stove. Liam's eyes filled with tears. He walked slowly to the table and sat down. On the counter, he found a small note in Clara's handwriting. "Dear Liam, thank you for sharing your Sundays with me. You made my last winters warm again. Please keep making the soup. Share it with others. It's how love continues. With all my heart, Clara." Liam held the note close and cried quietly. That night, he sat alone in his kitchen. He looked at the empty bowl in front of him, then at the note again. He stood up, took a deep breath, and began to cook. Carrots, onions, potatoes, a little salt, and love. As the soup boiled, the smell filled the room, the same smell of warmth and kindness. When it was ready, he poured some into a bowl and took it to his neighbor, an old man who lived alone across the street. "Hi," Liam said softly. "I made too much soup. Would you like some?" The man smiled. "That would be nice, son." And so, the soup she always made, Clara's soup, continued to bring warmth to others, one bowl at a time. Message of the story: love never disappears, it just changes its form. Sometimes it becomes a song, a photograph, or even a bowl of soup. What we give with love stays forever in the hearts of others.